Hi everybody, welcome back, particularly after the last video. I'm now completely calmed down, tucked into as many layers of clothing as I can manage, and praying as hard as I can that we find a permanent home as soon as possible. This is the coldest house I have ever lived in. It gets no sun in winter, has a lot of damp and mold, which we are constantly treating, cleaning, and painting over, but it does not help. And now Madame Bookworm has had enough. Anyway, guys, if you hear my teeth clatter, please know that it is rather cold here in our neck of the woods the last few days, and we live in a freezer. But onwards and forward we go. I do not know how many of you are like me, but once you've listened and found that you are indeed, please let me know in the comment section. Well, I'm the kind of person who, the more you force something on me, the less I will take to it. The more and harder you try to convince me of something, the more suspicious I will become. And never ever try to gaslight me. I smell it a mile off. My grandson asked me the other day, how do I always know when he's trying to smooth talk me? I just do. I didn't always, but life's lessons have made me one, a cynic, two, always siding with the underdog, and three, hating injustice. And I think it is due to these tendencies that a lot of things pertaining to the royal family, the press, and the public is currently not sitting right with me. It is particularly noticeable lately that there is a sort of a drive to paint the king as this wonderful, holy creature who can do no wrong. And sadly, we are also seeing this in the independent media and even in some instances on social media. And it is really now starting to itch where perhaps we shouldn't scratch. You know, real love is to love someone regardless, to love them warts and all, and not to cover things up or lie or to refuse to face the truth. The article which lately caused a bit of a ripple, namely the one in which it states King Charles is an interim king and accepted that William will be the change maker, is the very one which cements exactly my feelings and opinions. And maybe the palace PR and the sycophantic biased reporters should change tactic because, in my opinion, their current PR drive is not working and is actually just resulting in people like me growing a further distaste for the person called Charles. It also causes us to go scratching where maybe we shouldn't, if you understand what I mean. I'm sure you do. One such example is the current narrative surrounding the Cash for Honours scandal and the police now making it known that there will be no further action. It would be my advice that the palace PR and royal sycophants hush, shh, don't talk about it anymore. Have your public forget about it. Shh. Heed the Queen's advice. No complaining, no explaining. Hush. Shh. Because it is logic that it will not go further, because the person named Charles is now king, and he and nobody directly acting on his behalf or on his instruction can be prosecuted in His Majesty's court. Please, I'm begging you, please understand this. Just like the Queen could not issue herself a passport and could not issue herself a driver's license, the king cannot be prosecuted in a court operating in his name. Michael Fawcett worked for the royal family and Charles for most of his life, starting as a footman in service of the Queen many years ago. There is no logic in even assuming that he acted and done anything without telling or seeking permission from his boss and friend Charles. No way. He couldn't. Of all the staff, he was the closest to Charles and worked closely together for many years and even spent time together. Well, we all know that. We all read about that. We read about the number of times Michael Fawcett even resigned due to a dodgy action or transaction, just to be brought back by Charles time and time again. Now, why? Because Charles knew Michael just did what he was told and was being loyal and protective of Charles by taking all the responsibility, basically taking the fall for Charles. We know that, yet we are going to shut up and keep quiet once again because we know and accept that not only can the king not be prosecuted, but he can and may also not be questioned in a court of law. And how can anyone have prosecuted Michael Fawcett if his boss could not be questioned? Logic, pure, unadulterated logic. So, what can we do but make peace with it? It is what it is. So, shh, hush, let it go. But no. The mistake the king has made his entire life, namely, he has to win. He has to walk away smelling like roses. He has to be the hero, the good guy. And no, sometimes you just have to fall on your sword and shut up. Well, him and his office have not learned from 50 years of making the same mistake and are therefore influencing certain reporters to come out and tell the world that both the king and Michael Fawcett were completely innocent. Nothing happened. It was all perfectly okay, perfectly legal. And you know what? Maybe most of it was. Inviting someone to dinner after they donated a large amount to your charity is certainly not illegal in no way, shape, or form. But selling permanent residence and citizenship is. It is illegal in Britain, illegal in Spain, illegal in Germany, illegal in Australia, South Africa, even maybe I think Nigeria. Every country you can think of. It goes by terms such as fraud, bribery, and a couple of others. In the real world, someone who accepts money for falsified visas, permanent resident documents, etc., can and will go to jail for a long time. And in the case of Dr. Mafus, that is exactly what happened. He paid for the honor to help fast track permanent residence in England. It was illegal. End of story. And the only reason why it cannot be prosecuted is because the principal is now king. End of story. But no, let's make it a heart-rendering story. Not only are we told how innocent it all was, but also how much the king misses his Michael. Are you kidding me? Seriously, even if the king was indeed missing Michael Fawcett, it is not something anyone would be told, whether you are in the media or not. Indeed, what a strange thing to say in a broadcast, and I cannot quite make out what the implication of the words are supposed to be. But then, even worse, the poor king cannot get his Michael back because he now has a Johnny. Oh my word. I cringed on behalf of the reporter. Major Johnny, or Lieutenant Colonel Johnny as he now is the king's equerry, basically on loan to the king by the military. An equerry usually serves the monarch for 3 years before he returns to wherever he came from. Michael Fawcett was never equerry to the king or anyone else. Michael was footman to the queen, then first sergeant footman, then assistant valet for Charles, then valet, and then the last position he held was that of CEO of the Prince's Foundation. He was never an equerry. An equerry and a valet are two different things. So a huge mistake made by this reporter. I'm sure Charles got a new valet when Michael Fawcett resigned the first or second time in the early 2000s. But that has nothing to do with Johnny Thompson or any other equerry whose job description is Officer of Honor, Senior Attendant, with responsibilities which include royal transport and day-to-day work arrangements, and always an officer and a gentleman. A valet sees to the king's clothes, his toilet, his breakfast. Oy, oy vey. I'm not going to name names and call this reporter out, but it is rather sad when you start talking through your arse just to have something to say. Anyway, these kind of mistakes are made because there is an over eagerness to brand the king kind and flawless, which he is not. He is a human being who makes mistakes and has made mistakes. And if you like him, then good for you. But then you have to like him, mistakes and all, or then warts and all, like a beloved family member. We don't always kick our family to the curb when they make mistakes, so I don't expect anyone to do that to their king. But be wise. Don't think you need to lie and cover things up on his behalf, because the mistakes you make in the process will and does make your loved one and or your king look worse and even more unlikable. And just quickly, the opposite is also true. If you do not like someone, then sure, that is your right too. And yes, we can explain why we don't like the person. We can talk about it. We can even gossip. But always make sure you are more or less in line with the truth, or at least the general or acceptable consensus. Don't go thumb suck something because you feel you have to do your duty to make someone look worse than they already are. So, another correction based on fact. No, Harry is not wishing he could wear his uniform on stage at Invictus, because Harry knows that a retired British military veteran may not wear a uniform. uniforms Harry had been wearing since leaving active duty were dress uniforms representing the honorary royal positions he was granted by Her Majesty the Queen. When those were taken when he quit the monarchy, that fell away as well. The death and funeral of the Queen was a once-off special occasion, likely never to be repeated again, as it is against the rules of the British military and has nothing to do with whether you are royal or not. You are welcome to go check me on this. The .org website specifically states that veterans are only permitted to wear uniforms for specific or major events like funerals and memorials and ceremonial parades and with the necessary permission. So, Harry knows full well he cannot wear a uniform of any kind on stage at Invictus. He can, however, wear his medals and a cap representing his old regiment. And Harry was in the military long enough to know that. And he has never before, even before he left the royal family, wore any kind of military uniform to the Invictus Games. So why would he want to do that now? Just another story made up by a reporter in some silly effort to make Harry look worse than he already looks. Like I said before, leave these guys to hang themselves. They do controversial things, they do things we don't like, all by their lonesome selves. We don't need to even lie about it. And as much as I hate having to come up for Harry, unfortunately, this time I have to, because on this channel, we try to stick to the truth. And when we deviate from the truth, it is at least not on purpose. Okay, guys, let us all let this go for now and have a peaceful weekend. I received a couple of emails regarding Megan and something another creator said about her recently, so maybe we'll discuss that on Monday. I forwarded one particular email from which I did redact the name, etc., to one of my most clued up contributors for comment, so we'll see how soon she responds. For now, I'm going to go crawl into the warmest corner I can find. So, you guys, stay warm or stay cool, whatever you need to do, wherever you are. But most of all, stay safe and look after yourselves until we meet again on the next one. Bye.